Ahead of this year's International Women's Day, advocates are demanding equal rights, opportunities, and equal power for women and girls worldwide. To mark the 30th year of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, the focus is on rising to demand action and delivering on the promise of equality for all. Some of the key demands include closing the gender gap, ending gender-based violence, promoting women's empowerment, and addressing climate change, as there's a growing recognition of the disproportionate impact of climate change on women and girls. Overall, the demands of advocates ahead of International Women's Day are centered around creating a more just and equitable world for women and girls. And as part of our series to dedicate this month to celebrate women, let's bring in the co-founder, Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center, Dr. Abiola Akiyode Afolabi. Thank you for joining us on the news this hour. Well,
pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. The conversation around women rights and gender equality has been on for a while, and it's gained even more popularity in the past 2 decades. How much gains would you say we have made, especially in Nigeria during this period?
We have made some progress, but it's not very significant. If we take a look at in the last few years, when I started the work, there was no law, no national law responding to gender-based violence. That was in 2000. What is about 25 years now. But if we look back and compare between that time and now, we have seen some progress. There's a national law on gender-based violence, which is called Violence Against Persons Prohibition, Act. And of course, about 36 states in Nigeria had responded to that. So, and we have also seen some development with respect to sexual assault referral centers. We have more shelters had also come up. Then we have more advocates. If we also look generally in terms of reportage, so there has also been some kind of progress in terms of report. But the problem is still there, despite the laws that we have and the policies. Implementation has also remained very slow. The political will is not there. So you can also just see that laws alone cannot really solve the problem of gender-based violence.
To get the kind of equality that we are demanding, a lot has to change in what is our current social norms and power dynamics. Have you been able to identify the critical factors to take us from where we are right now to where we should be?
Well, there are a lot of things we need to do. For example, the Beijing Platform for Action becomes 30 years today, and there are 12 critical areas that are important in addressing the Beijing Platform for Action. And one of the first critical action is an issue for us in Nigeria. It talks about women and poverty. So there is generally feminization of poverty. There are a lot of women in rural areas, urban areas, and it's very difficult for for them to be able to support themselves and also support their children. So the question of economy is very important. Addressing the issue of poverty means that the government needs to do more. One, create environments where women, can be able to support themselves. For example, we have 70% of women who toil the ground, who support food security in their different homes. And the question is what has the government done, to make life easy? And we still have a situation whereby 15% of Nigerian women own land. So there are structural issues, there are systemic issues still affecting women, and government is not looking at those issues enough. So there's a need for political will. So the government must be intentional, to be able to address some of those issues. Doling out funds to support women's empowerment must be done in a more constructive way.
That's right.
That would help to support some form of long-term intervention for women.
So there's another bill before the National Assembly to, create special places for women in the legislature. Okay, I understand the sentiment behind that, but do you think it will necessarily impact anything in this regard?
Yeah, it will. It will, because if you look at most of the countries where there has been development, whether it's Uganda, whether it's Kenya, or Rwanda, where they have about 68% women currently, in the parliaments, we can see from their GDP that things have actually increased, and they have been able to address some of the issues of poverty, health, and other issues affecting women in that regard. So if we have more women, in a position of office, in decision making, also helps to increase role modeling, increase women's participation, then answer the question of what are the needs,
All right.
of women, in governance. So I
Mm.
believe that the gender bills before the National Assembly is a critical bill.
All
It's
right.
a critical tool that could help to support women's participation
Well, that means
in Nigeria.
we are counting on the concept of women supporting women. As some have shown some, objection to that it doesn't necessarily work that way. But WHO is saying 1 out of 3 women around the world is being physically or sexually abused. In Nigeria, we've seen some more prosecution in that light. In fact, some states have gone ahead to even open sexual abuse register and publicly shame, the individuals who are responsible for this. As a lawyer, what have you identified as challenges that still exist in this regard?
Well, there are a lot of challenges in this regard. Why it is a good progress that we have sexual assault referral center. The police is still a problem, and there is also very low awareness. So there are issues of custom, tradition, religion that we need to deal with, to be able to have that kind of access to justice that could make us get to a level where we would say, yes, we have been able to support equal rights and opportunities for women and girls. So police still continue to be a challenge for women, and there are also other things in terms of investment. So there's multi-sectoral issues. But they are not working together. So people see the issue of women only as the Ministry of Women Affairs, issue. They don't see it as an issue that, cut across. So there's a need for us to mainstream gender in such a manner that when you are responding to the issue of sexual assault, for example, the Ministry of Health has a role to play. Ministry of Education has a role to play. Ministry of Information has a role to play. Justice system has a role to play, and Women Affairs and children at Ministry of Children and Social Development also has a role to play in that regard. So we need to have that broad, holistic understanding of if we are addressing issues of women, you must be able to take it from that perspective.
Hopefully, we'll make more advancement and progress this year. Dr. Akiode Afolabi, thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for what you